2022 is the year of real punk rock, counterculture, going to church, getting married, and having children.
So, Paul, here's a question for you. What do you think are some of the sort of big themes, questions you find yourself wrestling with right now, and what do you think will be these themes moving forward? Sort of moving into 2022, what do you think will continue to preoccupy? Because part of the reason I'm asking is I've been quite disengaged from this little circle, so I'm not completely tuned in. But I sometimes wonder if just me kind of pursuing my own interests, if as I'm doing that, I'm kind of engaging the kinds of questions that this little corner of internet is asking, though without sort of directly asking those questions. The same themes keep popping up.
I think it relates to the counterculture question in that for Protestants, when and how does the protest end? I'm not ready to become Roman Catholic. Catholics aren't ready to become Orthodox. But at this point, I think culturally we're seeing that there's a hole in the middle of the culture where the church used to be. And there's just the range of experiences with that. So just even in this little screen here, you've got the Netherlands that had a reformed state church. You've got Russia that had the Orthodox Church, but the Russians are, migrating all around the world. You've got, if there's a culture that has the church at the center of it, look at Poland or even Ireland, or French Quebec. Those have sort of collapsed. And we see now that you cannot live on a counterculture. You need something solid, stable, that stands on its own. It's not reactive. And I think for, at least in this space, we agree that, it's going to be some expression of Christianity. But what does that look like? So the Hutterites, with a tremendous amount of commitment, determination, seriousness, you all have created a culture that I don't think is fundamentally reactive. Although even in any Protestantism, including Anabaptism, there's a certain degree of reactivity. And this gets into, your question, which you didn't like, the revolution.
Can I tack on something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's tack on. It's interesting hearing you say that. As I'm just sort of scanning through some of the sermons you're preaching, it does seem like you're sort of driving home the revolution point in a way, like sort of pointing out how Christianity does have this revolutionary aspect. So, is that, you think your sermons are in tension with the sort of cultural critique you're making, or do you think they're of a piece?
I think they're of a piece. When I responded to your critique of Peugeot, I think Christianity is fundamentally counter-revolutionary in that Jesus is the king addressing the rebels. Fallen humanity is the rebellion. And Jesus calls... Now, the problem is that we all live in a world that is rebellion, and so we are bearing witness to the true king of the world. I think that's the major narrative. And so you've got Peugeot, who is saying Christianity isn't revolutionary, it's fundamentally the structure. And Protestants sort of naturally come in and say, yes, but in a way, within the age of decay, we continue to live within a revolution. And so if you revolt against the revolution, are you a revolutionary? There's a little chasing... I got in trouble saying chasing tail. There's a little, tail chasing going on with that. But I think that's the point. And now with, let's say, the recession of modernity, what secularism sort of allowed within modernity was a framework that in some ways allowed a truce amidst warring confessional Christian factions. That's basically what secularity in Europe was. Okay. We've got every reason to be anxious about what happens when the truce comes to an end. Because
say that again?
Secularity, modernity has so much Christianity built into it. Forget, what people like Pinker say. There's so much Christianity built into it that secularity basically said, let's take a broad Christian ethic of humanism and let's withdraw some of our sectarian demands and afford a rather vanilla humanistic space which allows Hutterites to have their community and Dutch Calvinists to have their institutions and the Roman Catholics to build their institutions. Let's allow these communities to sort of do these things within a general Christian frame. But we're going to just kind of shut up about its Christian nature. And we're going to play that game. And we've been playing that game for quite a while. But with globalization, it's becoming increasingly apparent that people are opting out of the game. We saw that with resurgent Islam. You see that with Modi in India. And it's been exposed now that this secularism that in the wake of colonialism people broadly bought into was kind of a Christian Trojan horse. And so India is like, we're going to go back to being authentically Indian. Well, I don't think that project is going to be as easy as they imagine it might be, or that the propaganda of it pretends that it is. And I think resurgent Islamism is a part of that. I think, Zionism has exactly the same issues. And so then the question is, what does post-secular look like? Is it a return to sectarian violence because we can't agree on a dominant frame? I mean, these are the really big, I think, anxious questions. And they scale all the way down. So, here I've got the little Christian Reformed Church in North America, which is basically being tugged apart by larger forces, such as the mainline church and American fundamentalism. And that's what's happening to the Christian Reformed churches. It's being assimilated into larger forces. But that's just a tiny little thing. I mean, the Hutterites, you all have strong walls made of plaid and suspenders. And, those are your walls. They really are. But they work because you have containment and you have identity and you know who you are. But there's also a sense in which we wear suspenders, not belts. And in the Christian Reformed Church, we took down those walls. And that's where you have the Benedict option. So I think those are the big issues. And we have a new face in here, Father Steve. I can't hear you. Introduce yourself.
Dominic Vanderclay.
Yes, we've never spoken. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Father Stephen DeYoung.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we have
We've talked on email. Oh, now we're really into it. Former CRC turned Orthodox priest. This is what many people are praying for my future.
Well, yeah, the pathway is open. I mean,
the African Anglicans made me a sweet proposal about a month ago. I turned them down.
oh yeah, we don't make offers. We're not going to come and give you a package or something.
Oh, they didn't offer any money, trust me. They
Okay.
didn't have any of that.